Fans have loved American Horror Story for a decade and stuck by the show for the highs and lows, but sadly AHS Season 10 might be one of the lows, or I should say the second part of the double feature season was. Fans hate Death Valley. Let's check out why and get some more AHS news. Will they have an opportunity to redeem themselves? What could future themes be? Warning, mild spoilers ahead. Firstly, how did fans feel about the first half? This season of American Horror Story was broken up into two parts. The season, called Double Feature, was basically two seasons rolled into one. Red Tide was the first part and Death Valley was the second. Most fans really loved Red Tide and said that it felt very similar to some of the best seasons that AHS has had. The pacing was great and had an incredible story that gripped you from the start. It really had some of the best parts that had made the show such a big hit. A great premise, interesting characters, and enough of a scare factor to keep fans satisfied. One of the episodes, Episode 5, Gaslight, has been ranked with the third highest episode ranking that any episode in the entire series of American Horror Story has gotten. Fans loved it, right up to the last episode of that piece of story arc. Final episode of Red Tide was pretty disappointing. All of that build up, but then it fell pretty flat after that. Still, the first half of Double Feature was enjoyable overall, and it left fans excited for Death Valley. Maybe too excited. It's very possible that the hype surrounding the second part of Season 10 might have been too much and it built expectations so high that it fell flat on its face when it did finally air. That could have been one of the reasons fans ended up hating it. Red Tide was just too good. So how high were the stakes for Death Valley? Every storyteller will tell you that the key to creating a really gripping story is to make sure that the stakes are high and that it keeps your audience hooked. They need to care about the characters and what happens to them, and they need to get them in trouble. And now, nobody cared about the characters. Most fans didn't even like them in the first place, so why would they care what happens to them? Red Tide came with writer's block. Know what's going to happen next. Death Valley, however, had two subplots. One in present-day head explosions. They didn't give us enough time to subplot, so there was no while writing Death Valley. Harsh, but still funny. Did it eventually connect to the first one, but they still expected it was all one season, that there would be some sort of connection between the two halves of Season 10. Each week they waited for that incredible aha moment that would just tie everything together and blow your mind. They waited and each other at all. Again, fans felt really disappointed and even a little bit cheated. I know that's probably not the fans, just another reason to hate Death Valley. Did it answer questions left by Asylum? When fans heard that Death Valley would once again go back, I really hoped that it would connect back to Season 2, Asylum. That season left us with a lot of questions for one of the major characters, Kit Walker. It's been one of the major complaints of fans of American Horror Story that even after all these years, those questions still remain. Death Valley would have been closure. So did they? Again, they did not. This was a story that was completely separate, and Death Valley did not touch on any of the characters or stories from Asylum. Kit Walker did not pop up in any of the scenes, even in the human holding scene where many fans instantly engaged fans, but they decided against going that route, and even after all of the cast. And finally, people really didn't like the young cast and once again, fans hated the casting and the character, and that it was generally annoying instead of it. We'll check out some more news about American Horror Story after all the bad reviews, another season. Normally when the reviews go down as badly as they did for double features of this show being renewed by FX, and not only up to Season 11, but the show's actually renewed on our screens. The show will have plenty of opportunity to redeem themselves, and fans really hope that they do. At least we know that it won't end on an incredible low point that Death Valley brought to the series. To August, Ryan Murphy had not pitched any story ideas to FX, but we do know some of the themes, to say which theme, the doubt that will again be the theme of Season 11. Sirens are still on the table, since many believed it would be a theme in Season 10 and it wasn't. Christmas horror could be interesting since it's been touched on in the show before with killers dressed as Santa, but never explored fully. Bloody Mary and Piggy Man would both be great to explore murderous legend AHS circles, and it would be cool to see that explained completely. But if the show wanted to remain timely, they could go with the plague theme that Ryan pitched to fans. Considering that the world is still struggling to come out of the pandemic, it would be for sure a timely theme, but it might just hit too close to home right now. Might be better to leave it for later seasons. Will all our favorite actors be back? We don't know who will be back just yet, but we do know that Sarah Paulson probably won't be back for Season 11. She has said that Season season 10 will probably be her last season, but she has left the door open for Ryan Murphy to come up with a really great character, and then she might be back. Fans weren't crazy about her character in Death Valley, and they felt like it would be a really bad way for one of the favorite actors on the show to end their time on it. Hopefully they can find some way to get back on the show and allow her to go out with a bang. Lastly for today, when will we see it? We don't know for sure, but chances are that season 11 will be released in 2022, somewhere between August and October. Are you excited for another season of American Horror Story?